Well, Bruno, thank you for stepping in. If you could start by clarifying why we're hearing from you and not Igor after this game.
It's personal matters, family matters, and yeah, I'm stepping in because I think it's not the right moment for him to speak.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind then reflecting on what has been a difficult afternoon for Tottenham, how much does that result hurt?
Of course, it hurts a lot. I think the first half we were a better team, and any mistake right now is going against us. Every detail is going against us, and then it affects a lot to the players as well. Then I think we need to be consistent with our performances, like not just for 45 minutes. It's how we react to any mistake or any situation that goes against us. And I think right now, in the situation that we are in, it's important.
This is it. It was such a positive first half from Spurs. You'd had 8 corners. Nottingham Forest get 2 and score. How much, in the current circumstances, are players' heads dropping when you are conceding these goals and there is such hope before games?
Yeah, of course, affects the human beings and affects, but at the same time they show how much they care. You know what I mean? You can see it. You can see how much they're fighting. But again, we are in a difficult situation. Everyone knows, and I think the players, they're preparing for it. Today, as I said, like first half, I thought we were the better team, and we need to be consistent with that. We need to keep those performances and avoid any situations that they go against us, and maximize or capitalize like mistakes from the opposition.
Still in the game, there were 2 changes made at half-time. Are you able to explain why those were made?
Of course, we were 1-0 down, and I think we wanted to be a little bit more aggressive with players. They're coming back from injuries and try to bring more energy into the pitch. And yeah, it didn't work as a plan, but I thought that was our intention.
Yeah, I think the fans were feeling quite positive about the players that you had available today. How concerning is it that you struggle to get back into the game with those players available to you?
Yeah, of course, they're coming back from long injuries, and it's going to take some time. That probably we don't have that time. But at the same time, I think it's important that they get those minutes, they get the influence into the team. I think Lucas come on, and I think it was a positive influence for us. Udo, it was the first minutes as well. I think they're really important players for us, and we need to keep, those dynamics. Again, as I said, like anything is, any small details right now, we're not able to control them, and it's about getting that right.
The fans will be feeling this defeat very, very deeply. What kind of assurance can you give them that this won't define the rest of your season?
Well, the first thing is obviously it will hurt us. It hurts to us. It's painful, really painful. But I think the fans have been outstanding today, from before the game to the end of the game, and we need to carry on because we care. We care about Spurs. We care about the club. We care. We are family, and we want to get out from this situation. And it's 21 points. I think the performances that we had at Liverpool, the performance that we had against Atletico Madrid, of course, give us positives. And as I said again, today we had 45 minutes that were really good. A small detail in a set piece killed us, but I think we create more clear chances than them. At the end, of course, the game is open, and for them it's a better game because that's their game transitions. But again, really positive in terms of the first half and the last 2 games, and we need to build on that.
Well, you have 3 weeks to do that. How much confidence, belief do you, the coaching staff, have in yourselves that you are the people to take this club forward and get them out of this trouble that they're in?
100%. If not, I would be standing here. You know what I mean? I believe in the players. I believe in everyone who's working at the club and how much people they care. I've been 20-something years in the professional football, and I can see and I can feel how much they care. And I'm 100% sure that we can go through and go through this situation.
Okay, well, please give our best to Igor, and thank you very much for stepping in and speaking to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's Bruno Salto. That is how bad it is for Spurs at the moment, because it is their fewest points at this stage of a league season, level with 19, 14, 15. So 7 games left to play. They don't play for another 21 days away at Sunderland, another one of your former clubs who had a better day. How, when they do come back together, whoever the manager is, do they install some belief in that group who are rock bottom at the moment that they can get a couple of wins and get out of this?
Well, that's the first thing you've got to try and do. Try and get these group of players to obviously believe in themselves. Because there's some good players.
What happened at Sunderland then when you were there, your group were down and out? How did you get out of it?
Obviously, we had Big Sam. Obviously, he was a big factor. He had been there many times before.
Well, what did he do,
I just feel like
specifically?
what he done was obviously today was a massive game, but he had a thing of getting the players to understand that it's just another game. He had a way of sort of like controlling the group, as in, stay relaxed and just play the game, not the occasion.
Are we back to understanding the league and the club again?
100%. 100%. Someone who, like you said, knows the league and been there many times before. So for him, he wasn't fazed by the challenge. And we had characters. We had good characters. I think there was a good mix between with the senior players and the younger players. We had players in the group that had been through it before, the League Catamouls and players like that. We had a Eunice Kabul who was a leader. John O'Shea, Wes Brown. So we had good characters, but the manager was brilliant. The manager was brilliant in that. But in a way, sort of like for us, it wasn't even about tactics. It was just about competing. Because you can set your team up. Like Tottenham there, we saw that, OK, out of possession, the 4-4-2, you're pressing that. But if you're not going to press with a desire to go and actually win the ball, or when the ball goes wide, are you going to stop the cross? When the ball comes in the box, are you going to make first contact? These things, manage it. You have to do it yourself as players, and they don't do that.
I think also we all know Sam as much as anyone.
Yeah.
But I think what the advantage he is certainly he would go in there and set them up defensively. Say, this is our shape. First of all, the first thing is we're going to be tougher to beat. But I didn't see that with Tottenham today. It's all right, him saying that he felt they did all right first half. They only had one shot on target. It was that wonderful save from Sells.
One shot on target until it went 3-0.
That's right. And I get and understand why they're reluctant to criticise in public, because they're already rock bottom, the players. But if he feels as if they've done well in that first half, then there is an issue, because I thought the goal they conceded just before half-time was typical of them. He says, well, we only fell asleep once. Well, once is too many times. You get punished in this league because you're playing against good players. And that's what happened. Yeah. And then you're looking for a reaction in the second half in a positive way. Didn't see any reaction at all from Tottenham Hotspur, and that would be the worrying thing.
I think you've got to put pressure on players as well. It's quite interesting you said about Sam, because that's what we worked on in training. There was a lot of sessions that I can remember where, as a forward player, I wasn't even in the sessions. He would have the back four in, he would get the youth team over, and that's all they did. And he would say to me, Fabio Barini and Duncan Watmore, go over there and do finishing. You focus on that. We keep clean sheets. And he would say in meetings, there was times in meetings where he would put a lot of pressure on me, but I had to take it on the chin. It was saying meetings, right, we're going to keep clean sheet, and then you have to make the difference at the top end of the pitch. As simple as that. And if you can't do that, someone else will come in the team and do it. So you have to put that sort of pressure on the players. And as players, you have to back yourself and believe in what the manager wants, and don't be scared of that.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Congratulations to you both. Morgan, just how big does that win feel?
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And obviously there was a lot of worry going into this game about the turnout and about how the outcome was going to come. But the boys were incredible. We defended with our lives today. We knew we had to bring that fire out of us, that energy out of us, and that commitment. And I think the boys showed that in abundance today. And yeah, it was just obviously delighted that we got the 3 points, because it creates a little bit of a gap now. But we can't just focus on that. We've got to keep looking forward and focus on the next game now.
Yeah, your manager said to us beforehand bravery was going to play a key part here today. Just how much do you think you embodied that as a team?
Yeah, massively. I think obviously away from home it's tough against their fans and stuff, but it was all about the fight and determination out there today, and I think to a man everyone was outstanding.
Yeah, fight, determination. You did say to us pre-match it might come down to who wants it more. Was there an element of that in the end?
Possibly, yeah. Definitely, I could say for all our teammates out there that fought and worked hard, and yeah, 3 good goals, so happy.
Morgan, perhaps with all your links to Spurs in the past, was it written in the stars that you'd get on the score sheet today?
I wouldn't quite say written in the stars. Look, I'm just trying to do the best I can to help this team. And I think I've shown that since the very first day I came here. We've been on an incredible journey, and I think it's only right to say that it wouldn't be Nottingham Forest if there wasn't this many ups and downs. It's not been clean sailing, but like I said, we all stick together, even the fans, the club, the owner, the managers. We all stick together and we push through, and we showed that out there today. So No, I'm delighted to get on the score sheet again, but more importantly, it was the 3 points.
Just how significant could that goal be?
Yeah, very significant. I mean, you know, they could have come back in at half-time and scored a goal straight after half-time, so just to settle it down to 2-0, sort of give us that, like, breathing room. But no, like I said, just delighted with the 3 points.
Still plenty of football to be played, but what does this result do psychologically and also literally 3 points clear now of West Ham who have lost today?
I think just a huge boost of confidence. Obviously going into the international break with a bit of a rest for us, and yeah, just to freshen up and be ready for the next game, basically.
Yeah, and with this break being so extensive, how important was it to set the tone in the right way?
100%. Taking 3 points here today and then having a bit of time off now to sort of enjoy, relax, and ready for the storm that's going to come. So no, we're so happy with the win today. Yeah, I just can't wait for a few days off now.
Well, congratulations to you both. If you wouldn't mind doing the honours, though, the player of the match does go to you, Morgan Gibbs-White.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, not for the first time he's in the Nottingham Forest headlines. They've scored 13 league goals this year. He's now got 6 of them, Alan. How much of an influence is he on that group?
Outstanding. We've always said about Forest having really talented and good players in. It's about getting it out of them, and those two are probably the best they've got. Yes, they've had to defend really well, but when you need that, you also need a little bit of quality to go with it. And those two, I thought, were absolutely outstanding on the ball and off the ball. Bit of quality in the passing and the finish, getting into that position. But I thought also Elliot Anderson, in terms of the protection, work rate, passing, driving Forest forward in that midfield, I thought the two of them were absolutely outstanding.
And when you were relaying your experience from Sunderland there and saying perhaps you weren't the most talented, but you wanted it more, that's what came out of both their mouths. And we saw that from Forest today.
And you need that, because at the end of the day, you know, they're all going to be good players. You know, you're not going to be bad players, or you don't just become bad players overnight. But what you have to do when you're down and you're scrapping results, you have to compete first. And if you don't, then, you know, it's going to be very difficult. And that's what they do with quality. You know, you see the two players there, you know, they've been so consistent. And it's probably the hardest thing, especially when you're at the bottom of the league and, you know, sometimes with players, you know, the way you play changes. But to show that sort of consistency and, you know, put in those level of performances and be the example for the rest of the team, it's just been brilliant. And that's why they're getting out of it.
Igor Jesus has scored the majority of his Forest goals in Europe, just his third today. But the timing of this goal was critical, wasn't it?
Yeah, the one criticism that I had of Forest was about the lack of goals. But you just felt as soon as this went in, it was great timing for it. He finds himself in a really good position. He works the space really well. He doesn't have to jump for it, but he guides it perfectly well. He gets away from his man really well. Jed Spence, I think it is at that far post. And you just felt that was a huge blow for Tottenham and such a big lift for Forest going in just before half-time. And whether you like it or not, once that went in, there's probably only one team going to win it, because you're thinking, well, where's the character from Tottenham? Are they going to come back? We never saw any fight whatsoever. But on the other side, from a Forest point of view, we sort of saw them get bigger, grow into the game, and felt as if that they were going to go on and dominate, and that's exactly what they did.
Did that disappoint you, the reaction from Spurs after that goal went in?
Yeah, because I said about the next goal's big. You know, win the game, and you like to think that, you know, you've conceded, OK, we're at home, and, you know, we'll get a chance eventually. They create chances and that, and then we'll score the next goal and go on to win the game and that. But after conceding, especially where you're at in the league, and not sort of like try and get back into the game, you know, like Al said, you look at the game and you can watch the game 10 times over. You know, Forest were a better team throughout. So that was the disappointing thing for sure.
And the way it was easy to score the second goal, from a defensive point of view with Spurs, is this tip of eye of the day, really?
Yeah, and a lot of times, you know, like people talk about managers and that, but sometimes it's that sort of that common sense, or you got to help your teammate out. And I think when you got someone like Hudson-Odoi 1v1 with any fullback, you always fancy him to go past them. Good, but to get to the byline and to cut it back where you got Morgan Gibbs-White basically on a penalty spot free, he couldn't even take a touch. He had time to take a touch. See Romero there. Sort of like you expect him to sort of like leave from there. He comes out of position, which is in the first place, and then you got Hudson-Odoi 1v1, and he gets into position here, and then you got Sarr, you got Romero, and they're all sort of like gone to the near post, where you think, okay, then cover the near post, of course, but someone has to be in and around the penalty spot, and then Morgan, like, he's just free on his own. You know, and someone of that quality, you know, and like I said, he couldn't even take 2 touches. That's how much time he had. It's an easy finish.
Tottenham were all over the place. I mean, that is shambolic, really, from Premier League football. You cannot defend like that on a Sunday League level, let mind in the Premier League level, to get that many something. OK, you haven't stopped the cross. Can someone in a white shirt get on the end of it? Or is someone going to bully you and get on the end of it in a red shirt? And that's exactly what happens. I mean, it really is embarrassing from Tottenham, but brilliant from Nottingham Forest. Great ball in, and someone who is desperate to get on the end of it, rather than someone defensively wise who's thinking, I might put it in my own net here. I don't really want to get on the end of it. And that was the difference in the game. You had one team that were wanting to win it in red shirt, and there were one team that looked petrified.
And that is the first time Forest have scored 3 Premier League goals in a game since they put 3 past Spurs in December, incidentally. As you can see behind me, 5 games, 1 point for Igor Tudor. It does sound a touch ridiculous, but there is a international break coming up now. There's 7 massive games still to come. Would Tottenham be considering another change at all on the back of that?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think listen, we don't want to sit here and sort of like, we don't enjoy managers getting sacked, but the fact of the matter is, you know, when you look at how the games are running out and you can't see any level of performance, you can lose football matches, but it's the way in which you lose them. I think you can't see any signs that Tottenham are going to win any games. You know, don't really create 1 or 2 half chances. I thought Tell was good. Individuals, you get individuals that were decent during the game and that, but in terms of a team, a collective, there's no togetherness, and that's the worrying thing. You know, empty stadium, you know, against Palace at half-time. You know, in the second half, it's an empty stadium. Fans leaving early today. The support before the game on the streets. So they're playing their part, but at the end of the day, you have to give these fans something to cheer about. But when you look at the performances, they're not improving.
I would think, even before the Liverpool game last weekend, if they weren't already sounding people out pre-Liverpool, than they should have been because of what they saw in the performances and results. And I think that result and the performance at Liverpool probably made them think for the time being, OK, we might just sit tight, there's a little bit in there. But then you're looking at today's performance again and at home and how weak they looked and how nothing has changed. And it's not all his fault, by the way. Tottenham are not in this position because of Igor Tudor or even Thomas Frank. It's because of the people above them who have made ridiculous decisions in getting to where Spurs are now, because it's not just happened this season. We saw it happen last season. There has to be a reason for that. We've seen so many managers go in there, brilliant managers who have had huge success elsewhere, but couldn't, for whatever reason, transform that into Spurs. Now, there has to be a common theme somewhere along the line that it's not all these managers' fault. Having said that, they are in the situation that they're in, and there's only one thing that matters in between now and the end of the season for Spurs and their fans, is that they stay up. Now, if you have to sack someone to get a result, then so be it. You have to do that, as hard and harsh as that may be. Is there any improvement? No, not
well,
on today's performance.
In those 5 games, it's the worst record in the Premier League.
Not on the 5 games we've seen. We've seen a little bit last weekend, but it's gone back to type today to what it was. You're looking at players who look scared, who look petrified to perform, particularly at home. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if, again, that another change is on their mind, particularly given the timing. You've got an international break coming up.
And talking of timing, when we do resume, West Ham play on the Friday night at home to Wolves before Spurs go to Sunderland next. So if West Ham win, Spurs take to the field in the relegation zone the next time they play.
Just psychologically, you see it, and, you know, can these players handle it? Well, it looks like they can't handle it. It looks like they can't handle the pressure. It's a different
do you feel a little bit for him because he doesn't know the Premier League, he doesn't know Tottenham?
It's hard enough.
And he's having to sort of learn on the job as you go along here.
And it's exactly that. I know he came in confident, and I think as a coach you have to back yourself because he's done it before. He's been in situations before where he's sort of like gone in and steadied the ship.
But not in this league.
But not in this league. Not in this league. And like I said, you know, every game's hard. There's no easy game in the Premier League. No, home or away, there's no easy games. Players have to take responsibility. And you look at some of the goals there, and for me, I just feel like if you look at the teams like obviously Forest, you know, you can see that they've got leaders. West Ham having a go Leeds. So yeah, it's gonna be tough now, but it'd be interesting to see.
Is it a club in a league like at the moment where, for the short term, it needs someone or people who understand Tottenham Hotspur?
I think so. I think a lot of people have been saying that. You know, I think when you look at the other end of the table, the situation at Man United, you get like a Michael Carrick that comes in that knows the club. All of a sudden, you start seeing, you know, performances and end results. I think so. I think there's obviously been talks about, you know, Harry Redknapp going in and someone who knows the clubs and, you know, some ex-players in and around it. But yeah, I mean, listen, the club's tried everything. What do? You get Igor Tudor that comes in and, you know, quite aggressive in his approach, and you know, even in the warm-up, he stands there in the warm-up, like I mentioned. You know, someone that comes in to change the system, someone that comes in and puts his arm around it. How do you get these players to play, and how do you get these players to sort of like reach a level that we've seen glimpses of? Liverpool in the Champions League, but for whatever reason, especially at home, can't seem to get these
10 points all season.
Can't get these players to play.
Yeah, I mean, keep on saying or hearing that they've got some really good players in there. Well, really good players not only perform with the ball, but really good players perform without the ball.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing at the minute with Spurs is that it's far, far too easy for the opposition when Spurs are trying to defend. I mean, look at those 3 goals today, for example. One's coming from a corner, free header, 5 yards out. Morgan Gibbs-White's goals come when there's no one within 5 or 6 yards of him in the 6-yard box. And then the third goal is there's no pressure on the cross, and somehow centre-forward wants it more than the centre-half who's nowhere near the ball. I mean, that in itself should be basic defending from decent players. Yet we're seeing goal after goal after goal with Spurs that is far, far too easy for the opposition to score against them. So they might be all right with the ball at times, and we haven't seen anywhere near it.
Yep.
But without the ball, they're embarrassing, and that's been their problem.
So if you were the CEO at the moment, would you make a change?
If I was the CEO at the moment, I'd be looking in the mirror thinking, what a mighty mess I've made of this, or this club has over the years. Because it was someone's idea to go out and get Tudor and appoint him and think he was the right one, and they were going to get a tune out of him. So they have to look in the mirror as well, and that's why I said it's not all his fault.
OK. The other side of the coin, of course, is a massive 3 points, as we've mentioned, for Nottingham Forest. We've had the player reaction. Here's their manager. First Premier League win for Vitor Pereira.
Well, Vitor, congratulations. What does this victory mean?
Means the spirit of the team, the character, the personality. You know, was not easy because I think we start in a good way the game with the ball, playing good football. But after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we start to lose some long balls. The first ball, the second ball. They cross a lot. This is a team that they take a lot of crosses on the box. They play aggressive on the duels, and we start to lose the first ball, the second ball. In the throw-ins, they try to create problems with the corners, and in the end, was difficult. The first half was difficult. Second half, in off time, I asked the team to play the same way that we start the game, because it's our game, with the ball, not without ball, and with the ball, without the ball, be compact, find the proper moments to press them, and I think they did with personality, character, quality, and we deserve to win.
Yeah, how well do you think the players have taken on the pressure today? You say there about the instructions you gave that you wanted to see in that second half, but in the circumstances, how impressed were you with the way they managed to do that in the end?
Of course, because they have quality, and they have the true spirit and the personality to face this kind of game, because it's not about just this game, it's about the next 7 games. We need to have this personality, playing with our arguments, playing with the ball, because we have quality. In the end, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the team and with the supporters, because they deserve. They came here to support us and to send us the energy that we needed to get the 3 points.
3 more.
You see, on the flip side of what we were just talking about, Igor Tudor, he's been here before with Wolves and got them comfortably safe.
Yeah.
They've got 5 points from 9 now, and even those 2 games on the graphic there against Liverpool and Brighton, they shouldn't have lost those games. They were very marginal defeats. So they've got a bit of momentum at this stage.
What Forest have got better than Spurs is that how well or how organised they are and how their defenders want to defend.
But haven't they got a manager who understands the league and who's been here before that?
That was exactly that, is that you've got a manager who knows what this league's about, who's been in and around that situation before, knows the intensity, knows how people play, etc., etc. So it would be no surprise at all if they were to continue that form, drawn 2, 1-1 the last 3. So they're on a decent run, and with the quality that they've got, they can hang on in there. They can sit deep and they can defend and pretty much enjoy defending. I don't see that with Tottenham.
They do.
They find somebody else, Rebecca.
Right now.
Somebody's got the biggest decision at that football club to make in recent years. They have to make a decision. They sack him by tomorrow, or they let him stay the next 7 games. That's exactly where they are. That was beyond shocking, Backs. When we have a build-up today that we see the Spurs fans before, and we see the coach, and we see all the noise, and the guys are telling us there's an atmosphere, and then that is served up. That's incredible. I'm worried for Tottenham, and I'm not a Tottenham fan, because on a day like today, when you have to put a performance in and you do that against Nottingham Forest, we have a problem. Houston, we have a big problem.
I mean, also, Rob, right, these Tottenham fans, and I know they've been watching it for maybe a couple of seasons now, I mean, they've lost fight too. They walked out.
They've totally given up. I have to come back to you on that, where how many thousand people watching the coach come in is a fan doing his bit, is a fan saying, I'll make a tackle, I'll do a thing. Now it's like, over to you guys. Yeah. And it was like the players were in a bubble. I'm shocked to see a performance like that, knowing against Nottingham Forest you have to get 3 points. I mean, they're in all kinds of trouble, Backs.
I'm assuming that Van der Ven's hurt. Best defender at the football club gets taken out. Richarlison, that scored goals and is a top goal scorer, I'm assuming he's hurt because he brought them out of the game. The whole midfield 4, I think, did start the game on Wednesday. But the flatness and the lack of fight is incredible to me.
By the way, well done, Nottingham Forest. Yeah. Because they came in on the day and they put performance in.
They're fighting.
They sure are 3 points clear of the bottom 3, but what fan...
Welcome back. So Forest in front in North London at half-time, and as you can see, as it stands, they would be clear of the drop zone. Suddenly just 1 point behind Leeds United, and Spurs still a point behind West Ham, who are losing at Villa. Well, what a turn-up that was right on the stroke of half-time from the Nottingham Forest corner.
Yeah, unbelievable. They've defended well when they've had to. They've had to rely on their goalkeeper for a brilliant save. But in the way they play and the quality that they have, Forest, they know that if they can keep it tight, then although they haven't got a lot of goals in them, they've certainly got the ability up there, and they work that really well. You can see him working in to get him behind there, Jesus, and it's a brilliant header to free himself up, to get him away from the marking and then get the accuracy. I know there's no one challenging him, but to keep you calm when there's that many people around, it's a brilliant header.
Yeah, from a Tottenham point of view, the timing and the manner will be hugely disappointing.
Yeah, just for half-time, I thought the first half, I thought they were quite good, to be honest. Created 1 or 2 chances, or half chances. But to concede like that, well, I think it was Spence that was sort of like probably the closest. But it does have to jump. I think that's the disappointing thing. I think when you're down there, you're scrapping for results, and those sort of like concentration levels about, you've got to be dominant in those sort of positions, and you've got to stay touch tight and make it difficult for someone to get first contact and that. But it was just way too easy to concede like that.
Yeah, now at the other end, we'll see this magnificent save in a moment. But prior to that, this was actually off the bar in the end, off Jesus.
Yeah, well, like I said, they created 1 or 2 chances, and for Forest, that's the luck sometimes that you get down there. But Tottenham kept going, got into some good areas. I thought Tell was really good. He was probably, Tell's probably he's been the best player on the pitch in the first half. I think Romero, he just makes too much of it. He's waiting for the contact and that, and you can see probably from this angle how he goes down. Just he makes too much of it. That's a great effort. But you see here, it's just gone down too easy.
So about the save, Alan. So is with Charles. The save. We saw an unbelievable save from Pickford yesterday against Chelsea. That is equally, if not as good as that save. It's a brilliant save to push it onto the bar.
How big are 45 minutes now for your old club?
Massive. You know, managers, that's where you earn your money. You know, he's going to have to try and get these players now in the second half to you know, all guns blazing. You know, shackles off and go for it. But like I said, the first half has been good. You know, the first half's been good, you know, apart from obviously conceding there. But yeah, you know, this next goal now in the second half is huge.